They're so cute. Hey guys, so I know everybody must be just finishing opening up all of their presents, and so I thought that this would be a really nice video to show you my French kitchen, French vintage haul, because I recently went to Paris, as most of you guys know, just a short trip. I got a really nice deal on the train going over, and somehow I screwed up the schedule for something in Paris, and so I ended up taking an 8-hour long bus ride from London to the City of Lights, and yeah, it wasn't really that comfortable, but I was able to come back and I was able to bring some of these really cool kitchen gadgets and kitchen tools for you guys to check out. So what I did was I actually went to a bunch of different places. I went to a very famous French flea market in Paris, and then I also went to a bunch of different kitchen stores in the city. And yeah, so what I brought back was is a mixture of the two. So let's see. Okay, let's start from the French flea market side first. Surprisingly, there was only one main kind of kitchen store that was devoted to selling kitchen stuff. There was a lot of different shops that had like silverware and glass and stuff, but there was only one main kitchen shop. So the first one is this. So this is a mouli grater for like nuts, cheeses. Mouli, from what I understand, patented this grater in the 1940s. And I think eventually Mouli became the brand Moulinex. And this was supposed to be, what was it, a rotary? I think it was called a rotary grater. And what it is so you have the inner compartment like this. Stick the cheese and you stick the nut in there. And then this guy, I guess, clamps it down. So you kind of hold it like this, have the cheese pressing up against the grater, which makes perfect sense instead of using your hands. And then you end up kind of doing this and grating it. And I am not sure if I'm going to be testing this out. Like I don't like using my vintage kitchenware on anything. Like I usually just, like, if you ever see my Instagram, I kind of place it near, it looks like it's been used, but what I end up doing is I will grate the cheese with a normal grater, and then I'll just put this on the side. I could just stare and look at this thing for hours. I love I love vintage kitchen equipment. This is pretty much what I spend my money on all the time, is like camera gear to shoot videos for you guys, and then like vintage kitchen gear so that I can take some nice food photography. It is definitely my jam. The next thing is nothing too impressive, but I ended up getting this, I think it was just a couple euro maybe, this rolling pin, this vintage rolling pin. And what was weird about it was, I mean, I initially didn't like it for this, but it only has the rolling thing on one side. Like it's not even. It's not like you're gonna be rolling it like this. But what I found out this guy actually was one, in the daytime it functions as a rolling pin, and then at nighttime, not at nighttime, but you hold this and it's actually just like a mortar and pestle. So it's a pounder of sorts, and you can actually see like from the ends, there's a lot more kind of wear and tear. Like this side, super shiny, and then this side is really rough. So I thought it was pretty cool that it did double duty. It does have, I mean, so this is the thing about vintage things, and if you like shooting food photography, right? You know that texture is everything. And the older something is, like if there's like a patina on it, if somebody has like chipped away at it, it is worth so much more than something in pristine shape. So this one, you can really tell like there's like kind of like an oil stain here. I see like a lot of like just like bumps and divots for, you know, whatever they were doing with this. So there's my rolling pin slash pounder of sorts. Okay, let's go with this before we go with the last one. Okay. You guys are like, this is so ridiculous. So this is a coupe tomate. This is a tomato slicer. And this is available in a lot of like modern versions. Like the UK has them, the US also has them. Interestingly enough, now that I've moved over to the UK, most of the time when I look for like vintage like kitchenalia stuff, America has a lot of stuff, like a lot of things that even like I would see in France, like old time like farmhouse stuff. Like apparently America very into that. But this is a tomato slicer, and it is the coolest looking thing because I have never seen one before. The middle bits, they're actually quite sharp, they're quite thick, and you'll look at something like this and it looks quite flimsy, right? But this has some really good weight to it. And you'll see like there's like little teeth along these little strings, so it's gonna be really easy to cut a tomato. Probably the biggest seller for this for me is like, usually I will, if I see something, I'll kind of like go online just so that I can educate myself a bit more on this. But yeah, it's just the writing on top. It's so cool because it's in French. The patina on it is really nice. If you guys can see the bottom of this, it actually says from the company JTR, and it says made in France. I wasn't able to find too much on the company other than I believe it's from the 1950s again. Like most of these things I feel like are around the 1950s era. As I was looking actually to get one of those, there's this grater that has been kind of in on Instagram as of late, and it's actually what I found out from it, it's actually a safety grater. It's like a potato, maybe like a safety grater, and people have been using that in kind of styling like cookie shots a lot, or like muffin shots, or just something smaller. And I was not able to that those certain things exist like in the US, like in America, and it's really hard to get when you're not there. And I think vice versa is like when Americans are like, oh man, like you're so close to like old, like, you know, like English stuff, old French stuff, like those are the things that I have, which I'm very grateful for. But there are some old kind of American kitchenalia vintage stuff that I can't get my hands on. So this was the closest that I got, and oh my gosh, it's so pretty. And then the last thing that I got from the French market was this guy. So a lot of people have seen me take pictures with this on my Instagram. I will tell you the difference between like kind of vintage and not. So I tried to replicate it with this guy that I just got online, and you know, it's nice. It's like all silvery. There's, you know, same twirls, and I tried to like kind of squish in the rings so they would not all be so even and new, and I kind of tried to like paint it a little bit as well, but it didn't really turn out the same because you guys can see like there's like focus on this. So the French ones, this is actually really big. I wish I found a smaller one, but what the French ones have is, first, they have more rings. Obviously not all of the rings are equal because somebody had to take a wire and meticulously do this, but also like on these in between bars, you'll see that because they had to make it with one wire, each of the wires are actually like, it's twirled around each of these straight sides, right? And then you get this, the little holder is essentially just like a twirling of the wire. But for this one, the store-bought one, you'll see that it's, you know, it's mainly, it's factory made. Everything's just kind of like squished and melted together. There's no, there's no character to it. And so that is why like this guy was probably like $7 and this guy was very, 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 very expensive. Once it reaches Paris, it is, you know, they know how expensive it is already and how in demand these things are. So 2 more things left, and this is the stuff where I got it from I went to a bunch of kind of modern day kitchen shops. Most of them reminded me of just, you know, like stores in the mall or something, but there was one called Lacan, and apparently it was built or started in the 1860s, 1820s. Okay, depuis 1820s. So it still sells modern day kitchenware, but if you go inside, it's like being transported in time. Like this is like out of all of the other kitchen shops, they're all fairly close to one another, but this one is definitely worth going to. It has like a very old feel. A lot of the stuff that they sold, they were different. Like I was trying to compare to the different kitchen shops that I've already went to, and so this one is definitely worth a visit if you are visiting France and you happen to love kitchenware. So the first one was, can't pronounce it. This one wasn't from Lacan. This one was, why do I have to do that? This is for tart shells. So you know in France they have the most gorgeous pastry shops, and of course I will be making a vegan guide for you guys. That video is coming up. But they will make these kind of like these circular tarts. They're so gorgeous. And so this isn't really just a cookie cutter. Like I used to do it with cookie cutters, but the cookie cutters would be too malleable. It would be too soft. So these guys are actually made for the tarts. So you put your pastry in there, you bake it in the oven with this guy on. There are little holes all around it. So when you bake, it makes all the easier to like aerate. You don't have to necessarily bake it as long. It cuts down on cooking time. And the key to a nice kind of crispy, not soggy pastry is this aeration. So this was really, really useful. Also very, very expensive. It was, I think, around like 10 euros each, which is why I only got 2, because normally I would probably get 6. But if you visit those kitchen stores, I visited like all of them. So I visited like 5. All of them have a lot of these types of like tart shells, tart molds. They have a lot of the silicone molds like I was talking to you guys about. Just like the whole back area of the store was all silicone molds for, you know, your kind of like petite pastries and whatnot. And then this is the one that I got from Lacan. That store, guys, was so, like, it was so pretty. It was really taking you back in time because it was such an old store. So this one, at first I was like, I wasn't going to get it, and then the last day I was like, okay, this is the definition of what what Paris is. I must go back. So this, if any of you guys work with bread and, you know, flour, I guess a lot, is this is a flour brush. And most of you guys will know the flour brush is more like, it's like straight, it's more orderly. For those of you who make breads a lot, you'll know that sometimes you'll need it for brushing flour off of the dough. Sometimes you'll need to clean the board, the area with a flour brush. So when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm not sure how this will photograph. Like what if it looks like something that you clean like things with. How much was this? I think this was like maybe like 16 euro. So this was really expensive as well. But what I did was, like, when I went back home, I checked out everything and I realized if I changed my mind and I was in London, I wasn't able to get it. Like, you would have to pay a lot of shipping to get it. And also, like, this brush is not, I don't really know where it's made from. I don't know if it was specifically like made for the store, but it is a very like French thing. You can't really get it outside of Paris, like this shape. One thing that was different about it, because I did see the other flour brushes from the other like modern day kitchen stores, was this one is really, really soft. It's really, really soft, and it's really different looking. And I'm sure like you guys are like, oh, I can find out at any store, but it's quite cool. It's weird looking, which is why I think I like it, and it reminds me of Paris. So that is what I ended up getting from this. I have no idea if I'm going to be using it for, you know, brushing bread. That's the other thing, is like you want it soft, because if you are using it for a loaf of bread, you don't want to like deflate it and kind of damage it. You want to gently do this. Yeah, that is it for my French vintage kitchen haul. Be sure to stay tuned, because I'm definitely going to be doing a vegan guide for Paris. I visited so many really like lovely shops. It was very surprising, because Paris is somewhat, I think, still of a traditional city, but they are having vegan options as well. So yeah, so anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this haul. If you want to see these guys in use, definitely check out my Instagram. I will be using these, and they'll be very, very pretty. So yeah, okay, hope you guys all enjoyed this. I will see you guys again next time. All right, bye.